Magic the Gathering's animated Netflix series was originally supposed to be releasing in 2021. Now, unfortunately, due to both the producers and the head writers abandoning the project, it is unclear just how long we're going to have to wait until this project finally sees the light of day.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well. We are here to talk about a subject that rarely gets brought up, but on occasion people would ask about, hey, what's going on with that Netflix series? And I wondered the same thing now and again, because honestly, there was very little word on the street about the series. It was originally announced back in 2019 with a fair bit of fanfare, right? People were like, oh yeah, all right, we're gonna get a Netflix show. What's it gonna be? The idea behind it is it's an animated series that focuses on bringing new characters into the world, but having cameos of planeswalkers that you already know. It promises the basic concept of you're gonna get to explore new areas that Magic the Gathering hasn't, but also with something sort of familiar at the same time. Now, unfortunately, due to production issues, we're looking at a scenario where it could be a considerable amount of time before this project genuinely gets up and running and we're able to see it. Because, like I said, we hadn't heard much word about it whatsoever until yesterday, out of the blue, where Wizards of the Coast linked to this Deadline article that we're going to be going through here in this video. So this outlines problems that apparently came up a while back, and we're just hearing about it now. I'm surprised at just how little information has been provided overall for this project, but I'm guessing because most of the news isn't good news, that's probably why it's been submerged. So, the title of the article you may not be able to see in its entirety because I trimmed the screen capture down so there won't be a whole bunch of ads on the side. But anyways, it says, Magic the Gathering, Jeff Klein leads creative team of Netflix animated series after the Russo brothers depart. So, when we actually take a look at what the article is saying, it says, exclusive, Magic the Gathering Netflix CG animated series adaptation of the popular tabletop trading card game has put in place a new creative team led by executive producer Jeff Klein. And then in brackets it says Transformers Prime, which is obviously a project that he's responsible for. I will admit I have absolutely no knowledge of what Transformers Prime is because I don't really keep up with the Transformers anymore. I watched it when I was a kid, back with the old garbage animation and Starscream always trying to take over. Like, I love that old school Transformers, but the newer age Transformers movies and things like that where it's all CGI and it's like a bunch of noise and crazy stuff going on the screen, but ultimately your brain just tunes out because everything's CGI. I don't know if that's just me, but a lot of these more recent big explosion style robot fighty movies tend to have that effect on me overall. But regardless, this guy at least has some credited like big name projects that he has worked on, right? And I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff as well. So the article continues, the animated project was originally announced in 2019 with Joe and Anthony Russo at the helm. So the Russo brothers actually had to do with the Avengers series, like those big Marvel movies and stuff like that. So honestly, I was really excited about the prospect of them doing this project, right? Because when it comes to Magic the Gathering projects, if Wizards of the Coast finds talented individuals and gives them a free hand, we can actually see some really high quality products. A great example of that for me recently would be Children of the Nameless, which is a magic novel that was written by Brandon Sanderson, who is a famous author. And basically the agreement that Wizards of the Coast and him came to was that he was going to have the creative freedom to tell the story he wanted to tell, to create new characters, and honestly, he did a great job of it, and the game benefited from that, right? So depending on the level of control and influence that Wizards of the Coast is exerting over a project versus other individuals, it kind of affects my level of faith in that project. So one of the biggest failures in recent Magic history would have to be the War of the Spark novels, right? They were very, very poorly written. Essentially, the War of the Spark novels were so bad that the third novel, which was supposed to be the Theros novel, was actually pulled and was never sold. We got a tiny little snippet of what the story was supposed to be, but according to the author of those novels, Wizards really did have a whole list of conditions that needed to be met, and it was more like writing by committee than giving an artist free control over the project. So I had said in the past that I thought that the Netflix show would have a pretty good chance if Wizards of the Coast could kind of go hands off and let the individuals who were involved work on this project on their own terms, because that's genuinely how I feel like things should go. So the Russo brothers were exciting for me in terms of, they're being attached to it. Although I had people contact me and say, you may be overblowing the role of producers. In a lot of cases, producers are just names that are attached to a project to create hype and don't necessarily guarantee any level of quality. Now, I'm not really that big a follower of movie and TV production, so I don't really know that level of, how true that sort of statement is, but I figured I would include that as well because I never mentioned that previously when I talked about how excited I was about the Russo brothers being involved in this, all right? So, the article continues, I hear the Russos and their team, including head writers Henry Gilroy and Jose Molina, departed early in the process over different visions for how to best adapt the IP. So this is what I'm saying about there being radio silence. This is saying that the project was originally announced in 2019, and then that they heard the Russos and their team departed early in the process. Now, I'm willing to take everything in this article at face value for one big reason, and that is Wizards of the Coast specifically linked this on their main website, which to me is an endorsement of the information that's included in this article. If this article had information that was incorrect, my guess is Wizards of the Coast wouldn't have linked it up for us to be able to read. So I'm going to take I hear the Russos as this is actually what happened. So the Russo brothers and the two head writers, they left early in the process. Now, since this was originally announced in 2019, that means they probably left either in 2019 or 2020. It's probably been at least a year since they left, and we didn't hear a peep about it. I mean, I guess from a PR perspective, if you have a project that you're trying to keep people hyped about, giving news updates that are just going to be viewed from a negative perspective. I mean, if you say that the producers and head writers are leaving, but you don't have your ducks in a row and have replacements, that's probably going to go over a lot worse in terms of how people are going to view it. But ultimately, it says that they departed early in the process over different visions for how to best adapt the IP. So this would be creative divisions, right? We have, we're not agreeing on the creative vision of what this should be. And I anticipate that most likely has to do with Wizards of the Coast being very involved in the process and having a lot of demands, and probably not all reasonable demands. And the reason I say this is because we saw recently with what happened with the authors of the Dragonlance novels. They had a contract with Wizards of the Coast where they had to go ahead and write these particular Dragonlance novels, and Wizards of the Coast had all these stipulations they needed to meet, and then they basically kept adding in stipulations and making changes, and then eventually just went, we're not giving you we're not approving anything going forwards. We're just not we're not breaking our contract with you, but we're also not approving anything to go forwards. They literally tried to pull that off from a legal perspective. I mean, they lost. They ultimately lost their legal battle, and who is it, Hickman and Weiss? They won that whole legal suit, and the Dragonlance novels will proceed. But this is how Wizards of the Coast treats people they've done business with for decades, right? They have no problem just turning around and being like, this is exactly how it has to be done. And if it's not done our way, get lost. In fact, you know what? We're not even going forwards with this process whatsoever. So with those sort of people in charge of the creative vision and how things are supposed to be and the whole ruling by committee, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Russo brothers and head writers chafed at this, where they're like, look, we've got some great ideas. Here's what we think needs to be done. And Wizards of the Coast probably came back and said, actually, here's our vision. Here's what we want. We don't like this, and this. And after however many iterations of going back and forth, they just kind of threw up their hands and went, you know what? We're walking. And on one hand, I mean, I can understand Wizards of the Coast wanting the product to be a particular thing, because in previous eras, Wizards of the Coast trying to make their properties into movies/TV shows really didn't go well. Anybody who remembers the old Dungeons and Dragons with one of the Wayans brothers and Jeremy Irons, I mean, his acting in that movie is amazing. He's so hammy, but ultimately the D&D movies were not good. So I can understand wanting to deliver a good product, but part of delivering a good product is getting the right people in place and letting them do their thing, right? That's just how I view it. So it says the parting of ways was amicable, and Netflix subsequently tapped Klein to oversee the creation of an all-new storyline and expand on the stories of the Planeswalkers, Magic's unique magic-wielding heroes and villains. So apparently they decided to, if this is correct, scrap what they already had from the Russo brothers and these head writers and just start from the beginning, which, I mean, obviously, like I said, that is going to increase the amount of time it takes for this project to roll out. So the article continues. Klein's team includes co-executive producer and story editor Steve Melching from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, supervising director Adu Payton, art double D director Izzy Madrano, and writers Nicole Dubik, Russell Summer, and Dan Frey, and Taneka Stotts. That's why. Wouldn't you normally put a comma here? Anyways, whatever. I'm not going to get bogged down with that. The Russo brothers were involved in the transition and met with Klein. Is that necessary if you're actually not taking any of the ideas that they're going to use or anything? I mean, it's still cool, but I'm not sure what's the point if they're like, we're not going to use any of your work. So it says, I'm grateful to the Russos for bringing me into the world of Magic the Gathering, specifically over dinner at one of their go-to Cleveland restaurants. You know what? That's a classy move. Going out and sitting down for dinner was like, you know what? We don't want to do this project, but we're going to try and help you with the other people getting it on board. I like that. That is a respectable way to do business. So it continues. Magic is one of those rare intellectual properties with such a wellspring of mythology that picking and choosing is half the battle. 100% agree on this. Magic the Gathering's been around for almost 30 years. There's tons of different planes of existence, all kinds of different cultures, types of magic, lots of different things to pull on. So every single person working on the series understands how beloved this universe is and feels both the exhilaration and tremendous pressure that comes with translating magic across mediums. I imagine there would be a lot of pressure based on the past failures. For the Magic the Gathering TV adaptation, Netflix in 2019 partnered with Hasbro, the Rhode Island-based toy maker, and Wizards of the Coast, the Seattle outfit that publishes both the Magic card game and Dungeons and Dragons. Hasbro, which has owned Wizards of the West Coast since 1999, subsequently acquired independent studio Entertainment One, which will represent the company on the series. So that, I believe, is new information as well. I haven't heard about Entertainment One being the representation for the company. I'm not sure, though. While the Russo brothers are no longer part of the animated series, their passion for the game combined with their early creative perspective and input helped us to shape the project to a place where we believe fans of the game and those new to the Gathering universe will enjoy the series and discover what millions of fans around the globe have known for the past 25 years. And that's a joint statement from E1, Wizards of the Coast, and Netflix. The animation will be done by Snowball Studios, taking over the originally announced Bardell studio. Wow, they're really just starting up completely from scratch. new story, new director, new head writer, producer, new studio, all that stuff. In addition to the classic tabletop trading card game, the Magic franchise has expanded to Magic... Okay, so this is just talking about some advertising about the game at the end here. All right, so ultimately, from my perspective, we're literally back to square one. So they announced this in 2019. It's 2021 when we were expecting to get it, and just now we're finding about these changes. So even if the transition happened smoothly sometime in 2020, my guess is we're not going to be seeing this series until at least 2023, 2024. Now, that's purely speculation, but honestly, I feel like with the amount of fiddling around that Wizards of the Coast likes to do with these projects, everything that's happened in this regard, that it's pretty much guaranteed that's going to be the case. We'll see. Maybe they'll get it out faster. I, for one, am curious to see what it's going to be. After this, like, bump in the road, I am less... what am I thinking here? I am less of the mind that it's guaranteed to be coming. There's a part of me that thinks that the set, I'm so used to talking about Magic sets, that the series itself may just kind of fold up in development oblivion and never actually make it to the light of day. So we'll have to see what the case is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Big shout out to all my patrons. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like because YouTube knows that you liked it that way, and then so do I too. So thanks for coming by, my friends. See you next time.